It all starts with the non-existence formula. That's the very first point, and here's the graph for it. It has two graphs. The first one shows the beginning of inception, when the activity hasn't risen yet. Look, it's crawling along the very bottom of the graph. The line is almost at zero. And the second graph is when you find yourself in non-existence after you've already been carrying the activity on. For example, the statistic has steeply plummeted and plummeted almost to zero. In both cases, the same formula is applied, and that's the formula for non-existence, and it has 4 steps. Look, you have it there. I printed each formula out on purpose so that you can see. The first step is find a communication line. Usually, people can't do this step because they have only 3 misunderstood words in it. Which are find, line, and communication. Funny. How do I explain this? People do something else. For example, a company tries to do something like the first step of non-existence and tries to find clients. If you and I are in different cities, and if I had to sell you something, and I know that you exist there, and I practically found you already, but I need a means of communicating to you. So, what is a communication line? That is just what it means of getting in touch. How you get in touch. It's where you're going to look for clients, but not the clients themselves, don't you see? If we start looking for clients, then the scene is going to become totally ineffective. I'll give you an example. Imagine a hungry wolf. And he's running around the forest at winter, looking for food. He wants to find a piglet, wants to find a wild pig, and how long could he run around the forest and find a piglet by accident? He could starve before he found one. What would a smart wolf do? He would find a path to a watering place where piglets graze, and he would set up an ambush by that path. And that path would be a communication line. So a step of find a client to a wolf would be find a piglet, but a step of find a communication line would be find a path to a piglet, or find a chicken coop. Find some way of communicating, so that will lead you to a large number of the kind of people you need, or simply to that specific person that you need. For example, I'll give you the Prime Minister's telephone number, and you call him, and what's going to happen? Well, not you, because you know the Prime Minister. But if I give the Prime Minister's number to someone else who doesn't know him, he's going to call the Prime Minister and say, "Hello, dear Prime Minister, my name is John Smith." And the Prime Minister is going to say, "Who is this?" and hang up. He doesn't have communication lines. He doesn't have a way to get in touch, even if he has the phone number. So the misunderstood word here is communication. As you know, in English, the word communication means, among other things, simply the action of communicating. And when we say find a communication line, we mean simply find a way to communicate. So that means that actual communication has to occur. The people who are on the other end of the communication line have to want to communicate with us and have a reason to communicate with us. If they decide that they want to communicate with us, then it also has to be possible for them to get in touch with us. For example, here's the latest invention, a telephone. You are calling a client and you happen to have advertised in the London Times. And clients see this advertisement and they want to call you, but all of your phones are busy because you're calling the clients and they can't reach you. Do you have a communication line with the clients? No. What you need is to find a way for you to communicate to that person and for them to communicate to you. And you find these ways, and then you have done that step. Do you see that? Yes. It's very simple. The main thing is not to do something different, and the main thing is to do that step specifically. Because what's the mistake that many people make? They try to do the 4th step of the formula right away, not the first. changing the steps in the formulas I am about to show you has truly fatal consequences. It's just like if you were going up the stairs and tried to step up from the first floor right onto the second, or right onto the fifth, and you wouldn't get anywhere. And then when you find yourself in difficult circumstances, and you might have to take a step back on the stairs, but you might not have a step behind you. At some point you didn't need that step, but when difficulties arise you might have to use it for support, and you might find yourself just falling through. So, you have to do all the steps in sequence. Quite a graphic example. Yes, thank you. I'm glad that it's understandable. It took a long time for me to figure that out in the library. When you do the fourth step in that formula, as you see, it's do what people want from you. And some people try to conceive what it is that other people want from them without having done the first 3 steps. Do you think they will be able to conceive of it well without having asked the people? Of course not. For example, one textile manufacturer called me to ask how he could sell amazingly beautiful, very expensive textiles in a city where people don't buy that sort of things. How he should teach people to buy such textiles. That's a real case. And maybe this person could teach people to buy expensive things. But he was almost dying of hunger because he couldn't sell anything. It would have been right on his part to go and ask what it was that people would buy and to produce, minimally, something that people would be willing to buy, for starters, just to keep from starving. When you're in non-existence, you're not strong enough yet to dictate your own terms to the clients. That's the reason why you have to discover from people what it is that they want before you do what you think they want. But before that, you assert yourself. So, the second step, you found a communication line, and in the second step you declare that you are there, and that there is a certain amount of clients that can now come to see you. I think that's quite clear. You just say, we exist and this is what we do, and the very fact that you said this will already make it possible for you to make money. And when there are some people who gravitate towards you, you have communication lines, and they can turn to you, and then you can go and do the thing with a newly fashionable, intricate word called marketing. You ask the people, what are you willing to acquire from us for the price that we want, so that our concern can finance its financial department by itself. But there are a few nuances here in how to go about it. Look at your environment and how many people know something about marketing. Very few. That's a brand new statement on this market, isn't it? The simplest way to do this is to ask people, your potential public, potential clients, what can we do for you so that you buy our products? And you ask this question several times. Also, you can ask a very cunning question. What can we do for you so that you don't buy the products? Meaning, what shouldn't we do? What could we do that you would never buy? And strange as it may seem, but I conducted this experiment, and I've asked people, and they really do come up with answers to both questions rather easily. And if you ask the questions a few times, they will give you the most valuable marketing data. But the funny thing is that people will never answer these questions if you don't ask them. So it's something that should be done. So, that is the formula, and that is how to start an activity. You find the communication lines, you find the avenues of contact, you declare who you are, and that obviously, you have to declare some good works you've done. You ask people what they're willing to buy, and what the reasons are that they wouldn't buy, and then, having analyzed this information, you do the thing. You might have to finish up organizing your business, but you do the exact thing that people want and are ready to pay for. And then you will have money for further development, and you'll come up on this level. And one could say that your flying machine will have taken off the runway. Well, just imagine that non-existence. If it's a flying machine, you've seen these things. When it's skipping up and down on the runway, then it's not fulfilling its function as a flying machine. And one could say that as a flying machine it doesn't yet exist. Yes, but it's not flying yet. It's not flying yet. When you do the steps of this formula, then you will get off the ground and you start to fly, and that's the point. In essence, where you come to the next condition, to danger.